A Taste for the Seasons. Chapter 1. The Savior Walks Among Us. A staunch, elderly man makes his way down a massive staircase carved into the crest of a mountain. The sides of the staircase are covered with a scummy black moss. Long, animal-like horns shoot out from the dark borders. The horns are also covered by the inky moss. Each step is perfectly cut, smooth, and formed to be the equal of the next. The saint responsible for carving the steps has his image engraved in the center. The elderly man's back is hunched as he takes the gloomy steps one at a time. He's dressed in white cloth robe with red trim around the collar and sleeves. A golden belt made out of the finest human hair is fastened tightly around his gaunt waist. Brown leather sandals cover his feet. In his right hand, he holds a wooden staff with a golden lantern at the top, lighting his way. The old man's wrinkled face is partially hidden by bushy eyebrows and a thick white beard, which blows in the thin mountain air. Lingering clouds make it hard to see what lies below, but he descends just the same. He makes sure each foot is planted firmly before moving downward. A few more steps and the clouds part, giving way to miles of flat, weedy, infested rocky turf. This is where the staircase finally ends. The region drops off, overlooking the earth and moon, which are far below. Above in the sky, stars shine in place of the sun. A second man, wearing a black suit, stands at the edge of the same cliff, with his arms folded. His tan face is freshly shaved. He is deep in thought, looking down on the earth and its inhabitants. He is saddened by what he sees. The old man, after an extended walk, joins him at the ledge, and they exchange glances, neither acknowledging they haven't seen each other in years. To them, days pass like hours on this mountain. Suddenly, the old man's skin begins to twist and tighten as it's pulled, stretching in all directions. He grows breathless as he is transformed from the old man into an attractive, dark-skinned young woman. Seemingly almost naturalized to the sight, the man in the black suit grins. Tempting me with the pleasures of the flesh, eh? He isn't flustered by the change in the old man. The woman answers him in a North African accent. For many years you've walked among them, almost becoming one of them, one of the lost children. I figured you might appreciate a more appealing skin to gaze upon. The voice was now as feminine as the physique. Her ebony locks were long and braided. The old man's staff changed into a ruby-eyed snake, now wrapped around her shoulders. She is tall with a muscular build. The once white robe is replaced by a well-fitting black silk gown. An image of a fire-breathing dragon graces the front of it. The body is flawless, but the snake is a bit overdoing it. Not to mention, it's been done, friend. The man in the black suit replies calmly. Many years ago in the kingdom known as Heaven, Beelzebub was Jehovah's right-hand man, his subordinate. Beelzebub tended to the shepherd's needs as he devoted servant would. He watched and cared for the caretaker. Jehovah had devoted his existence to fulfilling the desires of his children. He wanted his creations to overflow with happiness and well-being. The catch was, the children were kept from progressing mentally. This, Beelzebub thought, was heartless. One day Beelzebub questioned Jehovah, "My Lord, why do you rule over your children so harshly when they love you so? They want only to please you. Isn't that enough?" Jehovah was a God who didn't allow his children, his worshippers, much leeway or freedoms of intelligence. He didn't see a need for such things. To him, his children were brainless, incompetent of being anything of their own. This bothered Beelzebub, who had a taste for independence because of his position. Jehovah explained, "If I don't keep them in line, they will perish. I'm the only one they look to for direction. I am the shepherd. I am their guidepost, their beacon in the dark. Not a single one of them could make it without my supervision. I protect them from the elements. I keep them safe from the wolves, which prowl in the gardens, and from each other." Jehovah was pompous, and soon the discussion turned into an argument between the two. Beelzebub insisted the masses could survive on their own, saying, "If your children were left alone, they would inevitably find ways to survive. Here, they know only safety and stability. If unleashed, they will encounter the grimmest face of nature, thus exploring the darkness inside themselves. Permitted, they will grow to be individuals. I could extricate them. Would you be proud to see your children flourish?" "Flourish? You know little," Jehovah guffawed. "The deeper the delve, the more they will take for granted. They will not respect the kind of freedom you speak of. They will become individuals who hate one another once on their own. A taste for the seasons will only provide a desire to spill blood. Man cannot go unsupervised." You would sacrifice individuality? It's not about the seasons. It's about freedom and choices. They can become so many things, but you won't allow it. Why? My children are easily pacified the way things are. Blessed are the meek, for their needs are simple and few. If I sanction progressive, open-minded yearnings, the children will only suffer. Jehovah had a thought and smirked. I will hear no more questions. I've decided to settle it once and for all by creating a new world. Jehovah constructed earth in 6 days as the testing grounds to prove Beelzebub wrong and remove all doubt. Jehovah filled the earth with wild creatures, mammals, birds, fish. He breathed life into one human, a male, who was set in a splendid garden, away from the savage beasts. On the 7th day, Jehovah called Beelzebub before him and said, "The man will be left to fend for himself. It saddens me, but at the same time, he'll get no help from you, my loyal servant." Sometime later, deluded by his own curiosity, Jehovah looked upon his creation and saw the man he labeled Adam. Jehovah noticed Adam was confused, frightened because he was alone in the garden. Adam's mind had yet to be developed. He had the brain of a child, the way all Jehovah's children in heaven did. Jehovah took pity on Adam and sent him a woman, Eve, so he wouldn't be alone. The two had relations, and soon Eve was with child. Jehovah called the test off, wanting to rule the new world also. He presumed the couple couldn't raise a newborn in the garden or anywhere on earth, so he wouldn't allow it. He didn't want them to suffer. Beelzebub knew the Lord was wrong and desired to prove it still. He come too close to watch it disintegrate on a whim. Beelzebub prompted the Lord. The beings on earth are there to fend for themselves, without interference. It is the reality of them enduring without your leadership too much for you? I will overlook that comment. There will be no further investigation into the flower's evolution or decadence. It has ended, and you will honor the words I've spoken. This is what is best for the kingdom. That night, Beelzebub traveled into the garden where the couple dwelled and sought out the woman. He chose to confide in her, and her intellect and advanced beyond Adam's. Beelzebub told Eve of the tree of knowledge and the power of its fruits. It was his way of helping both her and Adam. If the couple were enabled to care for themselves, Jehovah would change his mind. Eve, trusting Beelzebub, ate the fruit and her mind expanded. She shared the nectar with Adam, and he too benefited. They were filled with knowledge and were grateful to Beelzebub. When Jehovah realized what happened in the garden, he felt betrayed and retaliated against them, against those who went behind his back. The sun eclipsed the moon as the living God traveled to earth to confront Beelzebub. Jehovah cursed him, saying, "The test was stifled, and this was my choice. You had no right going behind my back. Since you did travel here on your own, you must like this place. You can stay here and live out the remainder of your existence without my help. You can experience firsthand what I foretold." Jehovah turned his back on his unreliable servant. Jehovah turned his back on his unreliable servant. This is your private hell now, and here you will be known as the evil one, the devil. You will be remembered for your position against me and feared because of it. All who dare to befriend you or trust to you will suffer in the end. I will see to that. You will walk among the living and share in their pain, because it was you who destroyed them. You ruined them already with your assistance. Search out your dark side, and one day I will return to obliterate the corruption and debauchery you fostered. Beelzebub begged and pleaded for his forgiveness. He was now man, flesh and blood and bone. I merely tried to help, as you did by bringing Eve to the garden. Beelzebub didn't want to stay on earth. This meant his life would eventually become as fleeting as the mortals he now walked among. Jehovah gave no reply. His philosophy was simple: obey me or feel my wrath. Jehovah, my Lord, they don't need you. They don't need you, and they don't need you. Jehovah! The devil screamed at with his fists in the air, and there was no response. Throughout time, the devil has been viewed as the root of all evil. This was the image Jehovah planted in everyone's mind. He did this to lull Beelzebub and stifle his attempts to preaching. Beelzebub was unable to help the misled souls he tried to free. He couldn't speak, and soon the human race tore itself asunder. For centuries, he observed helplessly as man waged war, exterminating himself over as little as a line in the sand. Still, Beelzebub had the task of proving people could survive without God to guide them. During his quest, few would listen or open their hearts to him. It seemed a hopeless task at times. Although he did make some individuals very happy, that is, the few who chose to listen and to follow him. Those few became kings and poets, ruling the world. Their eyes were open to the truth. They lived life the way the devil wanted all humans to live, without limits. Standing on top the exalted mountain, the shepherd had returned as promised. Jehovah had reappeared to judge all of humanity. No one was to be spared from his wrath. This included his ideological rival, Beelzebub himself, who was called to the remote location to witness the judgment. Jehovah, in the form of the old man, pointed and spoke, "Look with me into the hearts and minds of all these ill people. Let us gaze through their eyes and experience what they feel. These are the insignificant souls which you put on the line," he chuckled. "I confess, I want to hear you proclaim your mistake to the heavens." His eyes flashed a savage red-purple color, never seen by human eyes. "Among these insignificant souls are also the ones who worship you. They pray to you," Beelzebub said, pleading. Jehovah replied, "Those who are poor and serve me already have a place at my table. I wish they could see and know you the way I do," the devil remarked, his expression never changing. "The people who believe in you are predominantly the impoverished, downhearted, poor and hopeless, in need of faith, or those caught up in tradition expecting you to save them. As soon as those people realize what a fraud their God is, none of them will want to be in heaven. The day has come to erase this planet and the ugliness you term liberation. Those who violate my commandments will suffer. None will be spared in your name. First, let us see what progress has been made since the days in the garden." Neither was willing to see the other points. Together they gazed down, pride on the line, segregating a tiny portion of the eastern seaboard, the United States. This area represented the whole sphere, and its past would shape Earth's destiny. "See the goodness all humans possess? In the end, it is you who will proclaim my righteousness. In the end, it is you who will proclaim my righteousness, friend." The devil sounded confident. He continued, "Let's get this started with a man who lives life to please himself. Leaving behind his once wicked enslavements. Jojo Hernandez."